Welcome back. At any point in time, if you would like to pause this and see what my horrible mind decided was a good idea, then by all means, feel free. The project for today is making a woodworking bench in my garage. And granted, this was done maybe, I don't know, a month ago by now? Maybe 3 weeks, 2 weeks, something like that. And this is the first time that anything has been hand-planed by me in so long, and I am significantly out of practice. And this blade is constantly tilted one way, and I have not figured out how to fix it. That being said, I have figured out how to use it in such a way where that is not as big a deal. But as you can see, this bench is somewhat horribly set up for woodwork, as it always was. This was never great. But my goal here, I think my goal here might have just been to make a nice square side for almost no reason. It's not no reason, but I have lofty goals of making some mortise and tenons, and I do need at least a nice side for that to happen, especially for it to be sort of worth all the effort of making the tenon in the first place, which I've never done. But I do this treatment for all the boards. The construction is two 2x4s, one slightly longer, and the shorter one is shorter by the width of a 2x4, which is 3.75 inches. And for anybody that isn't familiar with that, a 2x4 in America is a 1.75 by 3.75 inch board. We just have always called them 2x4s, and that's just how it works. So, some very careful marking, and I have cut out probably an hour's worth of making sure that I make marks somewhat correctly. I've been making this a pretty big deal. And all the paired boards have X's, O's, squares, or triangles so that I keep track of everything. My little Japanese style pull saw here has been doing a brunt of the work, and it is a workhorse. I like it quite a bit. And of course, it leads to an awful lot of scrap. You do it once, you do it again, then you do it again, and you do it again. And once you've hit 4 agains, you're ready to do other things 4 times. But all these little pieces of scrap wood are just going in a pile. You will notice a very, very messy garage right now. I can give you spoilers for the future. This bench was the beginning of really cleaning my space and having it into a place where I really like it, and I can't wait to actually show you where it's at right now. But I will have to wait. This will be the last video for a little while. I mean, it's not actually that much different from the amount of time gaps that I've had in the past, but I will be out of commission, much like this bench would be if I only used it for woodworking for another month in its current state. I will be back in maybe a month to edit some footage of stuff that I've already done. I've got some really exciting things, at least for me. They're very exciting, and if you like this kind of stuff and you want to see where it goes, please feel free to subscribe, like, all that good stuff. If you don't, that's fine. This is your time, and you get to do what you want with it. And if you're watching me hand plane with the scrub plane right now, then we want the same things. I did a decent job on this. I'm trying to make sure that the boards sit flush for the glue up. I want this bench to last a long time, not a good time. Nice. But this being future Adrian, let me just emphasize that all the mess that you see here, all of it gets organized. I can see the future. It's pretty nice. There are dream tools. There are 2 dream tools in the shop, and I will get power for one of them. I will have a 220 volt in my garage by the end of October. I will be able to use said dream tool whenever I can stand up again. Or maybe I'll use it sitting down. I haven't really decided. I need to be super careful. While I was doing this one, I was still in my boot. And you see that little rock right there? Sorry, we're going to jump back and forth as ADD as possible between subjects. I'm trying to get rid of the rock back and forth between boards. You just got to do it. But I am standing in my boot for my heel for a lot of this. And it goes on so long that I didn't need my boot for a while. And I've gone back and forth, back and forth. So surgery was the option that I decided to go with. And my doctor was like, yep, this can't go away without surgery. So just do it. Now we're getting into the glue. You're about to see every clamp that I own. And yes, I included this vise in that group. But I made the vise open too wide and it bound for some reason. So I got to fix it. So let me know, that's all it took. That's all it took. Don't drop it. Don't drop it. I can hear myself saying don't drop it. But I wanted as much security for these legs as possible. I didn't have the ability to cut specific sizes of 4x4s in the garage, in the parking lot of a Home Depot. 4x4s would have been nice, but this worked out real nice in the end anyway. Used every clamp. I used that entire bottle of glue, or what was left of it. I don't think I've ever run out of a bottle of wood glue. Now I have run out of wood glue. I've run out of screws. I've had to get more of things. It's a good feeling. It's a really good feeling. I still haven't run out of a single bottle of 3-in-1 oil. For whatever reason, that bottle is endless, and I'm pretty sure it keeps making its own oil. But the vise, those clamps, all this stuff is what's come out of boxes and storage and whatnot, and now they're all out of storage. But security being what it is, the glue is really doing the job. But the screws make me feel better. Wood glue over that much surface area is not going a damn place. But this is an extra layer of mechanical... Oh, wait, hold on. Do you need something? What are you looking for? Oh no. I'm in my boot. Not gonna stand up. I'm the smartest man alive. Okay, so all that being said, and being the smartest human being in the room, I am alone in here. I don't even remember why I got the glue like that. It's because I'm surrounded by boards. I had to make a bunch of legs. It is nice to make shavings with hand planes. You have to clean up your shavings. And I did. I did a lot. And I forgot to close the glue every single time. Absolutely every single time I opened it, I forgot to close it. At least that I can remember. It cleans up real nice. PVA glue is good like that. So, repeated over and over again. I do not have... I don't have many power tools. But I don't think I have any power tool that could actually make this whole process faster. So, I mean, that is what it is. It is all okay. And hopefully you enjoy watching a grown-ass man sit down on the floor, cross-legged in shorts and a video game t-shirt, gluing things together. Because that's why we're here. That's why we were always here. I have sworn more at screws that refuse to go in than I care to mention. Now, the leg construction is complete. I'm making the crossbar that goes at the top of each set of legs. And this is just flattening it so that it sits flush next to the that piece. Didn't take long, just a few swipes, because there's a little bit of twist in most boards, and there's always a little bit of unevenness, even if it's really nice. Moisture changes, it getting used to the humidity of your garage. Both of these are set up and ready to go. That one just worked. That one was flush from the get-go. So having them set up like this and tested, they're good. I'm pretty sure I just stabbed myself in the hand with something. Now, what to do next? Oh, there's his face. This is the time for Here Comes the Boy. So I'm making a sort of I guess this is a mortise and tenon, but it's on the outside. It's only it's not through the board, it's just on the outside of the board. If I knew the names for things, I'd be a woodworker. I think that's the only thing stopping me. But I'm squaring up the edges so that it'll sit flush. When I start making the joint, it'll be that much better. Full disclosure, I should do this for both sides, front and back, but I ended up only doing it for the back side for 2 boards. And you'll see why later. And there's a reason why this video is 45 minutes long. I hope you are not too offended by having me plane directly at your face. Just know that I would never do that if you were in my shop. Granted, right now, it's a garage. Soon it becomes a shop. Once there are 2 benches in there, 2 benches in a garage, that's a shop. 3 benches in a garage, you're showing off. 4, that's a studio. 5, you have a problem, and you have to stop it. Your children need to eat. I don't know why I feel like filling in dead space over time is necessary, but hand planing with a scrub plane leaves gouges, and I am taking those gouges out. Scrub plane fast, red plane slow, oddly enough. Yes. Also, this is in the middle of the garage being extremely hot, and it is as fun as it looks. To anytime that you see my body is sweaty, oh man, you talked over the magic trick. You goofball. You absolute bucket. Do it again. Perfect. This board came almost split open, so it was destined to be a different kind of support. It aesthetically not great, but it's going to be the one that isn't put into my mortise and tenon. So I'm getting the width of my 1x6 material with a little hand router. My favorite little hand router. I will always use it at any excuse I get. And this time it is because I could not find a depth gauge. I think this is one of the first projects where I don't use a hand file of any kind. I'm pretty sure, at least. Man. Sorry, that's just traumatizing to think about. I've done that for so long that I think the bit is over. Anyway, I'm marking out the tenon's length and width. I'm going to make a little knife wall, and I'm going to start doing this the hard way. Well, it's also the only way I have. After the first one, I did figure out some things to make my life a little bit easier, but we're getting there. The Paul Sellers knife wall is probably the sort of best. It's not a cheat. It's just a way to start your lines and keep things accurate and clean. You minimize tear out. And also, you typically do that with, I'd say, a slightly bigger chisel, but doesn't matter either way. I'm sawing to depth, and then I'm going to chisel to depth. But if I had sawed across multiple times, I think I would have saved myself an awful lot of grief. It was fun, though. It was fun hitting this with a hammer. This first joint took maybe an hour, more or less, depending. And that's that. We're off to the races. This is the first time I've ever done a mortise and tenon. So, please forgive my please forgive my transgressions. They are many, but not having a place to do proper woodwork really does not make this easier. But, as you saw earlier, I do have access to a vise, and I could have made this a lot easier on myself. And we do that. One of my friends, I sent them a clip of this, and she was just like, this makes woodworking look like butter. And I'm like, this took an hour. That doesn't change that this, I mean, it does look really nice. This is, if I had more time, and I didn't have a job, and I had an unlimited amount of money, I think I would just sit here and enjoy the process, and nobody would ever see me do this ever. Because it's just fun. I am learning, though, that to get to the proper depth, I'm trying to get to the proper depth on one side, and then get to the proper depth on the other, and then meet myself in the middle. I'm making another knife wall across the bottom areas. I don't know if this is necessary, it just felt like the right thing to do after I had made the progress that I made. Everything's going too slow, so you gotta go fast. Also, apologies for my knee. I promise you that I did use a lot of safety in this. Future Adrian is very aware of knife blades at the moment, but I digress. This little thing right here that I'm doing, this is what would have saved me a lot of time, because I can just break off much bigger chunks across the whole bottom, and I could have gotten all the way to depth. This would have been the ticket. But if you've watched it all the way up into this point, I'm very curious sort of what people's experiences are with making mortises and tenons, and if they have any tips and tricks, stuff that's on YouTube, even if you're just sharing Paul Sellers stuff. Paul Sellers awesome. I haven't watched him regularly in a very long time, but I got an excuse to pull out this plane. I have very minimal tools for making real woodworking things, but I have real woodworking tools for when they are needed. And this little rabbet plane, it's got holes in the side that you could drill into and make some very cool sort of dimensional things, but I don't have any of the attachments for it. I just have the body. And the body of it's super neat. Like it can shave all the way up to the edge of a corner, unlike other hand planes. Oh, are we at the test? We're at the test. Now, it's a little proud on the top, but the left and right wiggle is really pretty good. It's within acceptable tolerances for me, and it's not the easiest thing in the world to just pull out, so that's it. That's one and done. Let's do it again. Very enthusiastic that time, Adrian. But doing this from the get-go and putting it in a vise, this is 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes condensed down to the amount of time that you're seeing here. And it was just as difficult, and I dehydrated just as fast, but it was very worth it. And that's 2 done. Now everything gets to come together. there's a guy testing the strength of ingrain to ingrain gluing, and boy ho how it's really cool. Ingrain to ingrain is stronger than ingrain to side grain or side grain to side grain in very, very well metered and not condensed, very well tested methods. It's so cool. The fact that a lot of ingrain to ingrain you have longer pieces of wood, and the amount of leverage that you can put on it because of the length of wood, that's usually when you see them break, and it always breaks at the glue joint. It doesn't break at the wood. That's also super interesting. Anyway, glue on multiple sides. I clamped these 1, 2, 3 blocks onto the left and right just to keep me sort of in square. I should have been checking to see if it was level, but I kind of lucked out. It worked out. I kept things at 90 degrees, or just 90 degree enough. And you do it once, you do it again. I don't know if you can tell, but I have sweat through my shirt in its entirety. Both are clamped, both got glue, both got screws. Just need to dry. Leg's done. Now we got to work on the rest of the body. Apologies for the back of my head, but I thought it was important that I look at it and see where all my gray hair would be had it not been falling out of the top of my head. It's very important. So this is legitimately the first time that I tested these joints, their height, their just ability to come together, and they just come together. There we go. Just like that. I mean, it still needs to be screwed and glued, but we are in the next steps. So the tabletop is very interesting to me. There's a restore right next to my place. And this piece of it's like MDF and plywood, like veneer, and this was originally used to ship pallets on top of. Like, whatever the loving hell this is, it's heavy. It's got a little bit of give to it, so it's not. It has a very easy potential to not be the permanent top of this bench, and I make sure to keep that into account. I have 2 of these, and they created 2 bench tops, a shelf that goes underneath it in both cases. And the only way that I have to cut it this time is this. I actually got a jigsaw. Is it a jigsaw? Skill saw? No. I got a saw that cut another one of these like butter very quickly, but I am very proud of this entire cut. From top to bottom, just going for it. And just a little bit out of focus. Hold on. I stabilized it just a smidge. So the dust definitely looks like MDF. If it got wet, I'm pretty sure if any water soaked into it, or if the humidity goes way up in my garage for some reason, I'm pretty sure that I'm boned. But for the moment, it's doing great. And I don't feel bad about it if it gets damaged, because if it gets too ratty, I can just replace it with a 2x4 plywood top and call it a day. This little pull saw is a workhorse. I love it to death. I have a couple of these that have been donated to me by some friends who just decided to give me tools. And I have a few others. Yeah, cover your face, you foolio. I have a few other saws that I have broken the teeth off of that are destined to become some form of knife. Maybe. It depends on if I can heat treat it or not. But we just take our time. When you're not really making a rip cut or a cross cut, you're really just cutting. Like, there isn't a grain direction to this stuff. It's whichever side of the saw works best. And the 2-foot mark was directly in the middle of one of these extra boards, so I have to cut through that board. And I ended up using it as a guide to make sure that I kept my width roughly the same. There was not a lot of travel on the cut. Again, super, super proud. And super nervous for when the cut finishes and I have to catch the damn board. But you'll see. Cutting left-handed was not super fun. And putting the saw back into the cut, for some reason, like, it bound like crazy. I think that just has to do with the way that the weight of the board is warping it a little bit. Either way. Now, I keep thinking that I should hide my shame, but you should know that just because there's a mess on the ground doesn't mean that there's a mess in my heart. And everybody's shop is different. My ground just happens to be my current largest workbench. And every workbench that I have ends up cluttered sometimes. So, top is cut. Figure out how to glue on a vertical surface. Violently, apparently. Again, completely kill this bottle of glue. Very proud of that. And all these extra wood shavings make a great way to spread around, oh god. That scared the shit out of me when it happened. All these wood shavings make a good way to spread glue around. Once there's glue on something, there always feels like there's more urgency, but you have a half an hour to really get it in place. But really, you have like 10 minutes to get it in place. And I also got this awesome, like, drill, like, what is it, pre-drill countersink bit from some very good friends who live very far away. And I used it every chance that I got since I got it. And in some cases for much less, not necessary, for things that it didn't really matter for, I just went the straight screw method, but I was very happy to use it. It makes drilling so much more pleasant. Now you can see that joint is pretty dang good. Could it be better? You're darn right it could. Did it do what I needed it to do? Absolutely yes. Self-censoring, and I am just squirting glue into my hand. I cut that part out, but just know that that did not work out good. I was mostly glue by the end of this project. A little bit of hand hammering with my hand. A little bit of clamp. And just a few screws. And that's another leg done. Or another step done. If you don't support it, it'll just do whatever it wants. But the clamps can come off when the screws go in. The top goes on. We are in the home stretch of it. Like, the moment the top goes on, I started using it as a bench. Those little things need to come off, but it'll be easier to do once it's locked down. The cut was pretty good. But I did... There's maybe a quarter to an eighth inch maybe more, maybe less over the whole thing that is just like slightly overhanging. It's not in such a way that it really matters to me. Just picking the best of, or the least evil option. The lesser of two evils. I remember how to say phrases. But it's a new day. It's a new t-shirt. Go buy Battle Sloths. The Great Pizza Wars of 2025. I worked on it. It's good. It's really good. And it's cute. It's got amazing animation and good music. And really good UI. And it's fun. And I worked on it. And a lot of friends worked on it. This isn't a commercial. I just like it. You're not watching this for a video game commercial, Adrian. Hush your mouth. Anyway, I don't know why it's taking me so long to just drill a hole. There we go. Now the band-aid's ripped off. It's not going to go any further, man. I don't script these, so that was a completely improv commercial. Alright, so screw goes in. Screw goes in. Oh, I guess it's already ready. Alright, so if you screw it in here, it pops up behind it. So you got to be really careful. So goes in. Yep. Oh, yeah. Oh, weird. I don't know why that keeps happening. Screws in. Yep. You know what? If the table's going to give me more screws, then I would run out a lot less often. Hey, not complaining. If I can't amuse myself, how can I amuse others? And then we do it again. This side is not so generous. It doesn't generate its own screws, but it is locked into that top thingy. Board. I remembered the word board. Just a couple left, but just enough to finish the project for sure. Now, some fun stuff. It's together. It's already being used as a table. It needs a little bit of support on the front here. That's going to be the place where people lean. I want to attach a front vise to it at some point. And I have this piece of oak flooring that is almost the exact length of this board. And it's perfect. And I don't do a perfect job of it, but I definitely glue it under there. Just for an extra bit of oomph and a little bit more meat on the front. Again, this entire thing could be completely replaced and I would feel absolutely nothing. It would just be a hassle. And there's the glue. The glue's trying its darndest to run out. But the spinny force of slinging something will get glue out. 100% every time. Or at least get glue to the bottom. Or fling it all over your shop. Many, many possible options. Did I use too much glue? No. I used an amount of glue that was enough to glue it to the underside of this table. All subsequent glue simply gets wiped up. Nobody's any the wiser. Not even me. Clamp. 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 Glue. Clamp. See? It's a little hard to tell in the video, but while it does have, it'll still have some give forever. It is significantly better. Now, leverage is your friend. Using a 2-inch chisel to do this. Have I made better decisions? No, because it worked. I use the chisel to get it started, and then I use leverage and a piece of high carbon steel that has not been turned into a knife yet as more leverage. I'm positive I own a crowbar and don't know where it is. So a crowbar would have been pretty helpful in this. But you work with what you got. You can't really change it. And I'm making you watch all of it because I did all of it. I kid. Sometimes it's more about problem solving than anything else, and none of my tools are particularly precious. Well, the most precious ones are for jewelry making, and they are not mistreated. But everything else is treated in the exact way that gets the job done. Now, safety Adrian, looking back at this, yes, moving that board first, that would have been the move. Absolutely nothing bad happens and there's no stabbing, but my God, upturned nails scare the hell out of me. I don't like them. I'm going to get the nails out of them. And I don't think that I have a use for pulled out nails, but I didn't just throw them into the garbage. Who knows what they could be someday? They could be in my tires. Or possibly in my feet. Who knows? They have a destiny and they are going to be fulfilled. But these little boards right here, they're extra material. I'm not throwing that away. That just goes into the pile of scraps that I can use to reinforce other things. In fact, I did. I used those short pieces to reinforce the sides off camera to make space for a little leg vise for this bench. So everything's a material. I did not make another mortise and tenon, but I did very carefully make this little leg piece here the same height on both sides on the front and back so that I can make myself a little shelf. And I used a temporary shelf, I believe, instead of using these, but I have already figured out how to use them to hang all of my clamps off of, so well worth it, both for left to right stability. That is these things' main job. I learned that when I had to alter my jewelry bench later, and I basically gave it new legs and did this to it, made it stable as hell. Like, absolutely wonderful. I hope you enjoy this shot of my love handles. I do not, but also I do. This is just a super awkward way to secure everything. I gotta do it again. Nailed it. Should have done that the first time. But those are settled. And the clamps come off. I took the nails out of the other ones without making you watch. I felt that would be actually cruel. But now it's a bench. I put the other part of the top. Now I have a shelf. I clean up with the chisel, and these are all the tools that I use to make it. For better or worse, this is it. I mean, if glue is a tool, just imagine the glue is still there. And screws. They're the workhorses. It didn't take much. The total cost of the legs was about $25, and the total cost of the top was $8. And it made the top and the shelf below, because I got it from Restore, it was cheap as balls. And it turns out balls are pretty cheap. If you watched long enough to hear that, mention how cheap balls are in the comments. Oh, God. But no. There we go. This is just about it. There's one thing that still needs to happen at the very end, but it is fulfilling its duty as a bench top, and it's fulfilling its duty as a place that I can work on immediately. Like, I used it while it was still being made. Like, that's something to me that I find very, very satisfying. It doesn't take much, but this is the first time that I've started cleaning up. You can already see more ground. Like, this was a sort of magic moment for me, because it starts to feel like a shop. And apparently I just make you watch. I'm just making you watch me clean up. So if you skip ahead a little bit, there's some more interesting stuff, but I'll give you some spoilers. Those 2 boxes that you can see down there, those are 2 boxes to 1 dream tool. And that dream tool is a 2x72-inch belt grinder. And all it needs is a 220 volt right at the back of the garage. And that's it. It's already got its own bench. It's already got its own... it's got its own everything. Like, it is ready to go. The moment that it has power, I'm going to figure out how to fireproof it and make sure that Fire Safety Adrian is doing his damn job. Because it is go time. We are currently at the point where we can make rings. We will be at the point where we can make knives. Granted, they'll be a little small first. And there's no forge in the garage yet. But we are at version 1.0 as of the recording of this. I think past me really just wanted to see the bench without anything on it again. Just to feel like I'm not making a huge mess. I got close. I don't have a place for it. But yeah. So stick around for the last couple minutes. I'm gonna finish the top off and say my goodbyes. It'll be a little while before I get to do this again. But just know that I have some fun stuff coming. And I'm having a good time. Houses are stressful as shit. You can't give me a big old work surface made of something that has wood in it and I'm not going to oil it. Are you kidding me? So here is a promise that I made a long time ago, which I've only broken for the those damn shelves for the DVDs. We're just going to oil the whole thing. It's got oil and wax. And we're just going to live through it together. Thanks for watching. I'm going to shut up for a little bit. In a little bit. Like, subscribe, it's YouTube, you know what to do. If you like this kind of stuff, I will happily supply more as the time goes on. And if you don't like this kind of stuff and you watched it anyway, I mean, good on you. Hell yeah. Go for it. Alright. I'm just going to let this happen, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye. Consider the lily gilded.